And I'm going to go live. Let's see if I've set my live up right. And here we go. This is going to be fun. And this is your interview, right, Randy?
It is.
Cool. Hey, you're on Lunch Conversations of Randy and Teddy. For those who don't know, I would be the Teddy part of this duo. Randy would be the dude and the beautiful Pink. Our special guest today is Yamile McBride. The conversation is going to be about resilience and relationships, and it's going to be a really interesting conversation. Randy and I have been talking about it for a while. But before we get started, I want to just let everybody know that Lunch Conversations of Randy and Teddy is sponsored in part by the Elder Law Firm out of Greensboro, North Carolina. They are really intentional about helping you with your commitments to your loved ones, to your family members. So if you know anybody that needs some guidance, some help, some counseling support with estate planning, elder care planning, or those 7 documents that you have to have built out, reach out to the Elder Law Firm at elderlawfirm.com, or their phone number is 336-396-4551. And when you talk to them, tell them that you really thought Randy's pink shirt was absolutely beautiful.
There you go.
So for those who don't know, I'm Teddy Burriss. My business is I'm a LinkedIn strategist, trainer, and coach. And teach people how to use LinkedIn as a business tool. Love doing that. But I get together a couple times a week with my good friend Randy. And Randy, are you ready to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Randy Wooden with Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina, director for our professional center based here in Winston-Salem. And I might add, it is a very spiffy shirt. Thank you, Teddy. I really appreciate the compliment. Hey, we work by appointment. If you, maybe somebody you know might be watching, whatever. We have clients across the country, but mainly here in the Triad, of course, and happy to help. If they're a professional and in a job search, need to reach out to me. Find me on LinkedIn. Happy to help, get you on the calendar. But you know what? A couple of times a week, I get together with a character. Is that purple? What are you wearing there, Teddy?
I think it is purple, dude.
Purple, lavender. Purple. Yeah. So we get together on Monday, and we also get together for an hour-long live show. Today is no exception. Every Wednesday, we're on show 130 something. I don't know. It's been a long ride, man.
Yeah,
it's been a long time.
Yeah,
137. So Yamile, did I get that right, Yamile? I got it kind of close.
Yamile.
All right. So I'll apologize up front because I'm going to do my best.
2 things you need to try hard, Randy, with a Latino woman is to say her name right and never ask her shoe size.
The shoe size. No. Yamile McBride joins us. And Yamile, you and I first talked maybe 6 or 8 months ago. So we're going to dive into some topics. I'll have you introduce yourself here in just a moment, but let me just give a kind of a quick rundown on some of the things that we're going to dive into today. By the way, folks, she is a ball of fire. And you know what, if you're kind of just on autopilot today and just kind of cruising through midweek, put your seatbelt on because you're going to learn some things, have some fun along the way today. We're going to talk about resilience, resourcefulness. We're going to get into terminology, things like neuroplasticity. Teddy, better write that one down. I'm going to test you about that, test you on that later. Neuroplasticity. I have
Play-Doh, Randy.
That's not neuroplasticity. That's close, though. Timeline therapy, a mind spa. Teddy, you didn't know you're going to go to a spa today for your mind. So
dude, I go to a mind spa every afternoon. What are you talking about?
The local tavern, right? Anyway, but before we dive into a whole lot more on that, we're going to get your comments and questions, put them in the chat area. Teddy, you'll keep an eye on that. And we're ready to rock. So Yamile, let's have you tell us a little bit more about you and your journey to where you are today, because you've got some pretty cool things that's kind of helped shape who you are these days.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much. Let me just tell you guys that Teddy and Randy are amazing. It's funny because you wouldn't look at these 3 people and say, whoa, they actually enjoy being together. Yes, their conversations are so fun and enjoyable. I actually worked with you, Randy. You helped me find a couple of gigs that it's all close to my heart. So yes, definitely use these guys because they're awesome. And I am excited to be here. So, 27 different schools, foster homes and shelters was not the end of my story. It's exciting because I get to now live on purpose. And I say that because of a pause that my life had at 40 years old. And now I say I'm 46 years young. So I am all about being able to find a way to make it better for myself. So I have 5 children, guys, and 2 grandchildren. My oldest is 23. My youngest is 1.5.
Oh, so what do you do in your spare time, right? You know,
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, 7 dogs and a goat, guys. So it doesn't get much more fun than that. So now you know why I sleep on a hard bed, not a 4x4, but a nice bed.
Hey, and by the way, Yamile, she goes by the title of Chief Energetic Officer at her own firm, Igniting Relationships. So I like that, the Chief Energetic Officer, and boy, oh boy, you sure are energetic. So what, a little bit more about your background, and also I want to know the why. Why is it you do what you do? You're hugely passionate about it. And I'm always curious, was it a single event or a series of things that led you down the path that you're on right now?
Yeah, definitely. So my why, the biggest why is I wanted to live life on purpose. And I say that because up until I was 40 years old, I was doing everything that I thought I had to do. I'm a child that now the word is ADHD, neurodivergent. Just there's so many words for our kind of people, right? Like you're just all over the place, energetic. And I always thought it was bad, right? So it was a series of events that took me down to become an assistant principal of a school here in Winston-Salem. I loved it. I loved it because the movement was fast. I got to really connect with people. I got to build relationships with my students, with the staff, with people around. The first year I was there, reduced discipline by 27%, increased scores. I mean, a lot of tangible evidence that I was doing good, right? But I was burning my own light. I was burning myself because I was doing. I thought that's the way life was supposed to be. Well, you do this to get this. And then a student actually blessed my life. She actually took me down. And I say that because in the moment, I didn't think it was a blessing. And in the moment, every adrenaline popped up and I started like doing everything I had to do, which was get the SRO, you know, follow all the procedures. But when I sat down and started writing my reports, I started feeling a pain in my heart. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I called my secretary and I said, I think I need an ambulance. My heart is hurting. And so our procedures are you call the ambulance or 911 and call your spouse or the significant other, somebody that could be there. Yeah. So as I'm on the gurney, I'm looking at my husband come up. He's a behavior specialist in another school at that point. And I hated him because I just was too busy. I wasn't focused on my relationship with him. I was focused on doing. And when I looked at him, I'm on the back of the gurney. I'm like, what the heck have I missed? What have I missed this whole time? And so at that point, I'm on the hospital bed, they're checking everything out, and it was a nerve, and it took 8 months to heal. And as I was healing, I was realizing I was paused. Yes, I was going to work, but I was paused from the former Yamile, from the Yamile that I knew that did to get stuff done. And during that time, man, I started uncovering things. My husband started learning more, got connected with Tony Robbins. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tony Robbins, but at that point, we went ahead July 2017 to the first event. We walked on fire that first night, and it was more than the fire. It was unleashing something inside of us that I now call the genius within.
Gotcha.
Unleashing something that we all have access to. And when I came back, I gave my 30-day notice, started my business, my nonprofit, and holy moly, what an incredible journey it has been. Dips and valleys and all this stuff. And so throughout that, is when I learned a lot more, and I went in to become a hypnotherapist. I went in and learned, I used, so a lot of what Tony uses is hypnotherapy, is NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. And all that is a fancy word to asking a better question, asking better questions when you are in front of anyone.
Yep. We're gonna dissect this as we go through. So it sounds like for you, I mean, you had what you thought might have been a heart attack, and it really caused you to stop and take note of where you are in life and what's important and how you get there and that kind of thing. So I can tell you're passionate. So we're going to bottle that up and put this into bite-sized chunks during the show today. But let's, Teddy.
Well, I want to share with Yamile. It only took you one ambulance ride. It took me two.
Yeah.
But and it was two fears of heart attacks. It was all stress induced. It was the second one that put me on my journey. But that's so back to you, Randy.
Yeah. So so you had the background in education, and obviously, you know, you're a doer and a mover, shaker kind of person. You want to make things happen here. So help us, I guess, let's start with definitions. So we talk about resilience, we talk about resourcefulness. So how about if you define in your way of looking at things, what is resilience?
So like if you Google it, resiliency is just bouncing back, springing back. And the thing is that with children of trauma, that's like, you got to do that. You don't have a second to think about. If you're being pulled out of the bed in the middle of the night, you got to think about it fast. There's no time to think, oh my goodness, what's happening? But this is where it was powerful. So resiliency for us, for me, is that it is the power of the pause, the self-reflection of it. So we all are capable to be resilient. You drop milk, you pick it up. You get fired, you find Randy to help you find a job. You need help with LinkedIn, you get Teddy. We are all resilient beings. That's like part of being human. But sometimes we kind of trample over those events. So Teddy just told us he had two scenarios with his heart attack, the stress induced, right? Sometimes we kind of trample over an event and we don't pause long enough to be self-reflective, to have an honest self-reflection with ourselves. Like, what could I have been different? What can I do differently? What can, you know, and so you start just asking questions. So resiliency is great, but if like many women, many mothers especially, we trample over all that. Like, oh no, we got to get dinner ready. We got to do this. We got a meeting. We got to run back in. So we're always rushing or to doing stuff. What would it look like if we can pause and just take a moment to see where we're at that moment?
Gotcha. Another one, let's throw this one out. And again, if you have questions or comments for anybody here on the panel, let's put them in the chat area. Teddy's in his lavender shirt. It's going to keep a close watch on those. All right. So Yamile, also you had mentioned resourcefulness. So help us understand the definition of resourcefulness from your perspective. So again, if you look it up, it's the ability to just find something quick and clever to substitute. Okay, so like for instance, in my house, if I'm coaching online, because I coach online, and it's 7 o'clock and I didn't take out the meat, and I did, you know, like all these things that I should have done before. So now rather than beating myself up, I'm going to be resourceful and say, what else can I make? You know what? Tonight is a good night to open cans and have cheese biscuits or and tomato soup. And so just kind of finding it without judging yourself. So resourcefulness, we all, again, have the ability to be resourceful, but when we do it, this time do it in a non-judgmental space. So we shifted to another thought, another dinner, another thing from a space of abundance rather than scared, like, oh my God, but the meat or, but the, you know, so all that just kind of locks away. So, you know, that in that context of resourcefulness, let's tie this back to the job seeker for a minute, because 50% of our audience are in some flavor or style of job search. And, you know, the bottom line, resourcefulness doesn't mean you have to have a job. All it means is you got to find a way to make money.
At the end of the day, none of us have to have a job. We just have to find a way to make money. And getting a job is the traditional, straightforward, nothing wrong with it, way of making money. And so if you want to be a little more resourceful and you want to think, here, use that statement, out of the box, stop looking for a job and instead look for ways to create revenue.
I love that you said that, because if we can come and we're going to talk about the mind spa, if we can get back to our genius, right? We all have the ability to be multimillionaires. We all have that ability to create the life, the relationships that we want. So from that space of resiliency and resourcefulness, we're going to be able to say, wait, Craigslist, I got 3 contracts through Craigslist. I would have never used Craigslist, and I have a master's degree. Why would I go on Craigslist? But I was thinking outside the box. So Teddy, perfect timing for that, because there are a bazillion ways to make money. And especially if you're in America, oh my goodness gracious. Yes.
Yeah. A lot of creativity, and to include folks in our audience too. So again, if you follow that same path everybody else follows, hey, more power to you. But you know what? There are other options. And so, Yamile, you've certainly chosen your own path. And it's, I'm sure, not, like you said, you've had valleys and peaks. So we'll probably dive into that a little bit, about some things you've encountered maybe that you didn't expect or that were good or bad. But all right, so let's get back on the resilience and resourcefulness. So this may be kind of a basic kind of question, but I look at things and I see, okay, what's the definition? So we get on the same plane. We all know now what we're talking about. And then it's going to be, okay, well, how do we do it? And why should I care? How is it really going to benefit me? Because a lot of the stuff that you talk about, I'm not saying it doesn't have value. It has value. It's just we may not understand or comprehend it. I had never heard of a mind spa before. And some of the stuff, I hear it and I'm like, okay, tell me why I should care and how it's going to benefit me. So let's look at that. And in resilience, resourcefulness, how do we become more resourceful and more resilient? And what's the outcome, the benefit? Why should I care?
So number one is asking a better question. Questions are the answers. Why is it important? Is because we've been conditioned to believe, like, our body is the unconscious mind. It is the propeller to why we pick up Cheetos instead of carrots. It's the propeller. Our body automatically does that. We wake up in the morning, boom, we go to the bathroom, we drink coffee. It's our unconscious mind propelling into what we've conditioned it to be. So in order to be your brilliant genius is asking it a different question, rather than asking, why am I fat, right? Or why don't I have a job? Then we're asking, like, where can I go to find an opportunity that I'm going to love? Who can I talk to today that is going to open up the sphere for another opportunity? So the questions are the answers. And honestly, the more questions we ask, the more we're going to flood the mind to be like, wait a minute, hold on a second, this is too much, because the mind wants to say it's supposed to be like this. But if the mind is telling us it's supposed to be like this, it's because it's been conditioned from something in the past or a person. And for me, I believe that all humans have we want to be good. Like, we want to be good. So if my mom taught me running away in the middle of the night or something like that, my mom was doing it to protect me. She wasn't doing it to harm me. So if I can look at a situation as what was the intention behind it, the pure intention, then I could be able to have a better open mind to create what I want. So a mind spa, the reason why, so a mind spa, to be honest with you, I created the name. It could be out there. Somebody could have copyrighted it. I don't know. But all a mind spa is a few steps. So number one thing is finding a space where you're quiet. So if you're driving or like handling heavy machinery, I advise you to use the link that I sent you guys, where you can do it on your time. On your own time. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So a mind spa, and a lot of people say, okay, just get your mind quiet. Hello, that is impossible to do. because the neurons and everything, their synapses, and it's happening all the time. Movement inside the mind. That's what we were created to do. So
Well,
trying to go ahead.
I was going to say, we're going to make sure we get to the mind spa, and we kind of, I want to try to, as best I can, to help not just me, but hopefully others and Teddy also, to take this one step at a time and understand, okay, now we've got this topic. Now we're going to move to the next one. We've got that one coming up later. The resilience and resourcefulness. One of the things the takeaway I kind of got from you there was don't beat yourself up too much. The thing of, okay, well, it's a good night to open up canned stuff, instead of saying, oh, I'm such a loser. Why didn't I plan? I could have taken the meat out. I'm a bad person. I let people down. Is that kind of where you're going with this thing, is to not beat yourself up and look for ways to work through that?
Absolutely. So I should have, all my life, I should have been a better mother. I should have put that drink down. I should have. But man, I ended up shoulding all over my life, rather than, well, what is it that I really wanted to experience? So absolutely, I call it unconditional, non-judgmental love of myself. So like being easy with myself, because the world itself has their own fears and their own biases and their own thoughts of who you are. Like what you did, if I want to point this out really well, what you just did was perfect example. So a lot of people who I come in contact with, sometimes are like, oh my gosh, she's too much. She's like a fire hose, right? But then we have a beautiful soul like you, Randy, to come in and be able to pause and say, hey, Yamile, I love this. Let's break this down. That is me understanding that the universe, God, whoever you believe in, is putting people, places, and circumstances in your realm so that your energy is still experienced, but also your energy is experienced too. So people now know they could come and talk to you because you have that ability of like, oh, let's break this down in 5 steps, in 3 steps. So everyone, if anything in this life is for me to better me. But before, I would have been like, who does Randy think he is? Stopping my chat.
Tell that to Teddy. He's the mean one, Mr. Grinch over there. I tell you, he is just so hard to deal with. But no, I think it's good. And you think back to, days of preachers where they had the 3 points. Today's sermon is going to have 3 points, and you try to keep it somewhat simple and ease it versus all over, because you've got so many things floating through here that you want to share. So we're talking, and we don't want to be too hard on ourselves, and we want to be resourceful and resilient. How about an example, if you have maybe a couple sentences on a couple of examples of how that's impacted your life, or maybe more to the point, people you've dealt with? You don't have to mention names, but with what relationships or job or whatever. Can you give us a couple of, I'll call them success stories, for lack of a better way to word it?
Yeah. And I would actually gladly, all of these people, if I mention their name, they're proud to say that it was from a mind spa. I also do a warrior within, so I do different events to try to tap into your soul. So Shika Khanna, she's out of India. And so she was on an event. It was a 3-hour event. She came in, it was 1:30 in the morning there. And so she was sleeping next to her baby. And because of that event, it was about, 13 months ago, actually, because of that event, she awoken that inside of her that she's been wanting to do. And now she has a global moms movement where she created a book of 100 incredible moms around the world, so that they could share their story and showcase the power of the mother medicine that we have access to. And so somebody like that was able to pause for either those 3 hours, and then after that we had 30-minute sessions where she was able to pause and recalibrate, what is it exactly? How are these steps going to happen? Because I am a big believer that if you have an idea if an idea to create whatever that is, you already have the answer for it. But the reason why those answers don't percolate immediately with the idea is because of the conditions of fear or limiting beliefs or anything else. That's kind of what blocks how to do it. So we are the who and the why a movement can happen. And the how is inside of us. We just need to activate it. And I've used a mind spa or hypnosis or other ways to activate that to come up to the surface.
Yeah.
Rather than me saying, hey, you need to do step 1, 2, and 3. Yeah.
So
Teddy.
Here's one. So Yamile, I teach people to do stuff they've never done before. I teach people how to use social media in ways they've never done before. And I'm working with a client, and I have this one employee, and I said, dude, here's your challenge. I want you to go out on LinkedIn. I want you to find a conversation that your competitor is having, and I want you to engage in that conversation. And he goes, I can't do that. I was like, why can't you do that? Because it's my competitor. I said, so? He goes, well, he doesn't want me to be a part of his conversation. And I said to him, think about this for a minute. If he didn't want you to be a part of his conversation, why would he be publicly having a conversation? I said, it's a public conversation. It's open for anyone to share. I said, now don't go on there and go, this guy's an idiot. My product's better than his.
Yeah.
Be a part of the conversation. People have this mindset. Here's the other example of this whole thing that we have to slow down and think about. And why did our mom tell us never talk to strangers? Where our mom told us that to protect us. And that is a great thing for us to teach small children. But at some point in our lives, we have to get past our guidance from our mom and be willing to talk to complete strangers. But I have college students who have that mindset, and they can't stop, pause, and wonder, why did mom say that? And is it right for me today?
And something else, Yamile, you mentioned earlier, ties into dealing with some clients. And Teddy, you may run into this too. And our mind limits us. We allow our mind to say, we can't do this. We don't measure up. Why should I try? I'll probably just fail. What's that? There's a term for that. I'll think of it here, Teddy. Remember Melissa Hughes talked about that imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome. And it's apparently more prevalent in females, particularly when they're applying for, let's say, also applying for a job. If they don't have everything, they'll say, well, I don't qualify. Whereas males are like, what the heck, let me apply for that.
Give me a hammer.
But that whole thing that says, gee, at some point they're going to figure out that I don't belong here. And they're going to figure that out, and I'll be exposed as a fraud or as incompetent or whatever word you want to use there. And I just wonder too, it sounds like some of the folks you've dealt with and you personally, you've kind of lived in that jar, if you will, of just swirling around and not really, or the hamster wheel maybe is a better way to put it. It's just, I do to get. And at some point you hop off the hamster wheel and let your head clear a little bit and say, wait a second, that doesn't have to be that way. And that takes some courage too. I mean, the fear of failure is a huge motivator that keeps us apart from things, I would think. We've got just a minute or so before the break, Teddy. Do you want to do the break now, or do you want to have
do the break now?
And then let's talk about the fear of failure and how that impacts our ability to make clear decisions. We'll talk fear of failure after the break here, Teddy.
I don't have any fears about failing, Randy. I've never done that, which, by the way, that's the conversation.
You had a lot of practice at it, right?
That's a mistake as well. Hey, you're on Lunch Conversations with Randy and Teddy. Our special guest today is Yamile McBride. The conversations about resilience, the conversations about pausing and looking at your life and wondering, why am I where I am? And should I be doing it this way? Yep. We're sponsored in part by the Elder Law Firm out of Greensboro, North Carolina. Who's important to you and how you plan to serve them is also important to the elder law firm. If you have family members or friends who are working through estate planning conversations, elder care conversations, or don't have those 7 documents in their possession, you need to reach out to the elder law firm in Greensboro, North Carolina, 336-396-4551, and ask them for help. They're great people. They're there to help you. Back at you, buddy.
Yeah. So the fear of failure. I had a guy years ago say the 2 biggest motivators in life are the fear of failure, or the fear of loss and the expectation of gain. Those are your biggest motivators. The fear of loss and the expectation of gain. And I think he's right, especially listening to you, because you used to live your life with the fear of loss. If I don't do this, I lose this. If I don't do this, I lose that. And now you look at the expectation of gain. What can I be? How can this work for the best? And I'm not saying you don't have fear. I think fear is what keeps us alive. Last time I tried to cross the street, Silas Parkway at 5:30, I learned that. So, you want to be careful, but not reckless. And so let's talk fear of failure a little bit. Have you seen, I don't know, ways to not to eliminate that, because it's innate. We have a fear. There's fear. But how to manage that, how to cope with that? Any tips, tricks, whatever you can share with folks?
Yeah. So there's actually, Tony Robbins talks about that as well, about the fear of loss and expectation of gain. And the fear that we all have, again, was conditioned, even if we don't remember our mother, our father, our neighbors talking about this thing that caused the fear in us. So again, going back to a question, what is true about this situation? So for me, man, the way to combat the fear is to do it anyway. Oh, but I'm going to fail. But that's not in this moment right now. This moment is the idea of I'm going to talk online candidly about who I am, what I do. Okay. So I wrote a book, Loud, Large, Latina, Fina, and it was actually the superpower of being vulnerable. And to be vulnerable is not necessarily to go and share all your dirty laundry, but to be vulnerable with yourself. So if there's fear, it is an internal thing that's happening. And so if I can always go back to that self-reflection, being honest about what is happening, but not overdoing it, right? Not saying more than what it is. And once we can have this, because it's a balance, that fear of loss and the expectation of gain, it's a balance, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the clients that I have there right now, they're college students, and they're afraid to get themselves out there for a job or art or whatever it is. And I'm like, okay, we've planned this for now 2 weeks. You're putting out there on your website, but it's not public yet. What's going on? Where is this stopping you? And when they tell me, well, what if it's not accepted? What if people don't like it? And I'm like, wouldn't it be nice to find out now? Now they don't like it, now that it's not good, so that you can then move on to the next thing, to shift the energy. And so once you can kind of see like, okay, it's failing fast. And I think it was Denzel Washington that talked about that, failing fast, failing forward, right? Versus getting stuck in this failure mode, or even that imposter syndrome. Because imposter syndrome is just, we're afraid of who we actually are. So being able to just ask yourself more questions.
I think it was Yoda, Yamile. I think it was Yoda that talked about fail fast.
Well, and sales is, take this to the job situation, and job hunting is a bit like sales in that, you're hopefully listening, providing solutions. But I mean, good salespeople will tell you, some will buy, some won't, move on, right? At some point. And, don't beat yourself up a whole lot about that. You've dealt with, I'm sure, Yamile, you've had potential clients that you thought you were going to get and it didn't work out, and maybe it was for the better, who knows? But you're not going to get everybody. And to cling to the fear of, oh no, they're going to say no, so why bother? Or I hate to pick up that phone and make the call because they're not going to buy, or they're going to not want to interview me. it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. At some point, you talk yourself out of it. Same
It
thing
was
with a
actually-
4-foot putt. A 4-foot putt. I mean, there. Anyway, golf analogy. What you got?
John Maxwell is who is online credited with fail fast. Now, we all steal other people's quotes, but that's a powerful statement. If in regards to resilience, in regards to growth, you put that website up there, do your due diligence, check it, make sure it looks good, make sure it looks like you expect it, and hit that publish button, and then look and see what happens. Years ago, Yamile, Randy knows this story. Years ago, I was charged with an $8 million project, and I had to buy an expensive piece of software for this large organization. And I was behind schedule executing. And because I was not sure, I was scared, I was not sure, I was afraid to make a mistake, because it would have been a multi-million-dollar mistake. The CFO of the company came into my office and closed the door and sat down, looked me right straight in the eye. He goes, "Make a decision today. If it's the wrong decision, we'll fix it."
You know what, Teddy, the fact that you have been vulnerable, that you opened up, that both of you guys are that open, this gives permission for other people to say, I'm not the only one. That's the pause of like, Teddy, but Teddy's this affluent, wonderful millionaire who runs and has clients in, China and Australia and stuff. And so we look at your accolades and we're like, he's impenetrable. Nothing has happened to him. How can I connect? And so the power of the power of vulnerability in this kind of space is where we get to grow together, where we get to see the human side of all of us.
How do we know?
I am sort of kind of perfect, Yamile, just so you know.
I know that. We knew that was coming. I knew it was coming. Hey, how do we know we're making progress here? How do we know? I mean, it all sounds good and all right, fine. So I need to be resourceful. How do I know I'm making progress? I mean, it's not a 2 + 2 = 4, but are there things that we kind of need to be aware of and go, wait a minute, that's what she was talking about?
Yes.
Help us understand about that. How we know we're doing the right thing?
I'm going to say something, and I hope there's women on here that can maybe attest to this. Your feelings are your guiding light. And so let me say that a little bit in a different, maybe a masculine way. So for me, I was a lot in my masculine because I had to take care of my mom. I was the oldest child and she was being abused. Like I had to take care of her. So I had to get into my masculine to take care of stuff. And because of that, I yielded. My mother's not being harmed. Therefore, all is well. My students' discipline issues, they reduced 27%. I'm doing a good job, right? I'm working, I'm getting $100,000 a year. I'm doing good. So we use a scale of like maybe money or something like that. But when we know we're doing good is because our feelings are confirming I'm in peace. I'm in joy. I love this. You started, I don't know if it was you two are like starting to be the same for me right now. But when one of you guys said, we're going to have fun today, you actually pre-positioned what we were going to have today. Fun. And are we not having fun?
Yeah.
We're having fun because I predispositioned it. I said it. Today is a good day. Today, I'm going to connect with the right people. Today, I'm going to have fun. And so you continuously speak that. This is the thing with affirmations, they're called.
Okay.
The problem with affirmations is that sometimes we think that's the only thing we must do is write it, speak it. But the unconscious mind is calling your bluff. Because it's like, yeah, then why are you slouch over? Yeah, then why are you sad? Yeah, then why are you thinking about your exes, vexes, second daddy babies, or all that stuff, right? So why is all that stuff happening, right? And so now we're stuck in like, you're right, my second baby daddy's goat just came, and all these crazy things, right? That condition us back to an emotion,
right?
And that emotion causes a thought. So
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
I love where you were going with that, Yamile. Emotion causes a thought.
Yes.
There's gotta be another step. There's gotta be an action.
Yes. So the thought is then going to give you the action. Absolutely. But the emotion, okay, because a lot of times people are like, no, I thought it and I felt it. Actually, you were feeling it already, which is why the thought is I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm dumb, I'm not good enough, all those things, right? It came from the emotion of not good enough, of unworthiness, right? So let's say in the positive, like we're actually feeling happy today. And every morning I wake up, oh my God, I'm alive. I'm 46 years young and I'm alive, people. Are there bills to be paid? Are people calling me? Like all these things. Are stuff happening? Yes. But the thing with these stuff that we see, our weight, our lack of job, our kids talking back to us, whatever it is, it's actually an old thought popping up. A bill coming up is because I used it in the past and it's popping up. Does that make sense? Like, so that's where I'm talking about, like, how you feel is the most important thing. That's your gauge for life. Am I doing it right? How are you feeling? Well, I feel sucky. Well, let's do something else. Let's do a mind spa. Let's pause and think about it. Let's ask another question.
Yeah. Well, let's move to neuroplasticity. I was going to ask Teddy to spell it, but I didn't want to put him on the spot there. Neuroplasticity. So help us understand, what is that, and healing at the core level through timeline therapy and hypnotherapy. Neuroplasticity.
So
what you talking about?
Yeah, actually, Teddy, you were talking that you have some what was
I said Play-Doh.
Yeah, period. That is neuroplasticity of the brain.
Randy, I'm smart.
I know it, Teddy.
He knew it. He already knew it. And anybody that's on here, future, present, you already know it. We just don't give ourselves credit enough because somehow we were told, oh, don't say something nice about yourself because you're being egotistical. Don't say, all that stuff. So it's just reprogramming of past thoughts and past beliefs. Yes, you are. Yeah. The only one. Yeah, that's neuroplasticity. It's just like, I can play with this. I can teach an old dog new tricks. I can.
Wow. Teddy, she's our kind of guest then.
If the old dog is willing to consider something a little bit different.
You know what? You're yes, exactly. The person has to be willing to consider it. Correct.
Yeah. So neuroplasticity, healing at the core level, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy. We've got, we have a little over 15 minutes. Let's talk, Teddy, you wanted to?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I want to keep going. This is interesting.
We've mentioned mind spa a few times. So let's unpack that a little bit. What is a mind spa and why should we care? What's it all about?
So it is a 15 to 30-minute session where you get to relax. And when I say the core level, the core is your unconscious mind, your body, your soul, your spirit. It is resting at that level. And the way that a mind spa works is that I ask questions. Hello, we've been asking questions, right? I ask questions. And a lot of times people say, well, I need a job. Okay, so let's take that because the majority of you people are looking for jobs or want to hop out and go to another job. So the question I ask is like, so what is it that you're looking for today? Oh, I need a job. For what purpose do you need the job? And so who wants to play with me? Teddy or Randy?
Teddy, what you want to?
I'll play with you.
You got the Play-Doh, you might as well play. There you go.
Let's do it. Yeah. All right, Teddy, for what purpose do you need a job?
Oh, it's easy for me. I need to keep my wife happy. I don't pay the bills. That's her job. But I got to give her cash to pay the bills. And my selfish reasons why I want a job, Randy knows the answer to this. I need to be able to buy my beer and my cigars. But look what I put on the top of that, Yamile. I need my wife to be happy.
Yes. Yes. Spoken from a true, and really quick, I just want to say that the reason why I wasn't having a good relationship with my husband, we've been together 15 years now, is because I didn't see the tangible evidence of it. I was too busy, right? You, Teddy, however, have said keeping your wife happy is the gauge for you. That is the gauge for you to, boy, you better have a job, right? And the other thing is you said, buy beer. For what purpose do you need to buy beer? What does that make you feel?
Now, Randy, don't be judgmental.
No, we learned that early on, not to be too harsh on each other.
Well, I mean, for me,
right?
it's just, for me, a beer, a cigar, and a book on the patio is a way of relaxing for me. You know, and I don't drink a lot of beer, but I love my craft beer. My craft beer is not cheap.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and for me, it's a way of, again, a beer, a cigar, and a book, or a podcast on the patio.
Yes. So you would feel relaxed. You would feel happy.
Yeah, look, we all have our bad habits. It's one of the bad habits that I enjoy.
So let me rephrase that. So in NLP, you help the client, or you help whoever you're talking to reframe. And we could do this all the time. Reframe. Go ahead.
And what do you say? MLP? NLP?
NLP, the neuro linguistic programming. All we do is reframe what somebody says that is a past thought. Like you said, bad habits. But this bad habit that you call it a bad habit, let's shift the name of it, because drinking craft beer, reading, and having a cigar keeps you relaxed, keeps you happy, keeps you content, keeps you.
There's another part of that too, Yamile. And there's a book called Atomic Habits. Yes. And Atomic Habits says stack up good things, stack up stuff you like with stuff you don't like. I don't really enjoy reading a book. I mean, for me, you know, by itself, if all I do is sit on the couch, just staring at a book, I can't do that. I can't.
Gotcha.
But give me a beer and a cigar on the patio by myself, and I can read that book. And it's more enjoyable for me to read that book in that environment than sitting on the couch reading a book.
Yeah.
But so we need to read.
Yeah. Readers are leaders. And let me, do you mind if I play back with you what you just said about the reading?
Don't make me get all upset, but go ahead.
Look, you got a nice purple Regal shirt. We got this. All right. So with regards to reading, I too had that limiting belief. There is no way I have 5 minutes to sit down when there is so much to do, right? There's no way. This is when I started learning more about myself. And I actually am an auditory learner. So I listen. So during the pandemic, when I lost the first business, I went in to work with seniors, and working with seniors, cleaning, wiping, you know, all that, depressed. I've got a master's degree and I'm cleaning heinies. And so what I did is start learning more about myself. And I read 28 books in 6 months through listening to it, because with seniors, they just want to be felt understood. I didn't have to sit and talk to them too much. It just had to do what they needed. So I shifted my belief of there's no way I have time to read a book to how can I enjoy reading a book? And so once we just shift that conversation, so once I have that information from you, which did you notice the main ingredient that I was asking you? Did
I enjoy the book?
Well, the feelings that you had from reading the book. The feelings.
Well, here's the feeling. I can share this very easily, and it's not really peeling back a whole lot of layers, but isn't it rewarding? Isn't it? I'm sharing through this question. If for me to show up and talk about Atomic Habits and tell you something I learned that was powerful, for me to have a conversation with you about the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and tell you that, you know, the Dale Carnegie principles, or Randy's heard me talk about the book, Designing Your Life. it's rewarding for me personally to share with other people what I have learned through reading or podcast or whatever. You can actually be part of it. You can be a more active part of a conversation. If you're just under a rock and you're not learning and growing and reading and discovering, you might as well stay under the rock. And I don't want to be under a rock.
Yes, exactly. Teddy, can you imagine having a party and say, hey, let's invite everybody who's depressed. Let's invite all the depressed people to come to our party. And so a lot of times though, we do that unconsciously, like we want to save the world without wanting to enjoy life ourselves. So rewarding, relaxing, happy, content, do you hear the patterns of what you're saying? Yeah. So then once we establish that, what emotions you actually want to experience, then we actually bring those emotions in the now. And so I get you to do some breath techniques. And then I instill that into your unconscious mind so that when you are out and about and you hear a song or you see your cigar, instantly those emotions come to you. You see a newscast and there's a new craft beer coming out, right? So boom, instantly those emotions come to you. Yeah. So that's what a mind spa is. It's reconditioning so that those emotions that you actually want to have, you have them more of the time.
Yeah. And there's another part of that too, Yamile, that I helped start a nonprofit years ago called Imagine When. And it was a beautiful, I was blessed to be a part of this, starting this nonprofit, but imagine when, and then answer that question. Imagine when anything, you always imagine when something forward facing positive, not imagine when this guy dies and he never bothers me again. That's not the answer. But imagine when this guy discovers that my ideas could benefit him. Imagine when something forward-facing, positive. I do this all the time. This is sort of like my mindfulness period. Yeah. I sit down, I say, imagine when, and then I imagine what it is that I want. And then, as I said earlier, you can't just have a thought without having an action. I can't say imagine when something and not ask myself, what am I going to do to make it happen? And I don't do imagine when Teddy loses 25 pounds. Be quiet, Randy. But I say imagine when I feel a little bit healthier. Imagine when I no longer fear a health issue. And then I'll go out in the middle of the rain and do a 2.5 mile walk.
Yes. Well, Teddy, actually bigger. Imagine when is powerful. I mean, can you imagine teaching that to all the children in every grade level, right? Imagine when you pass this class, because actually a really great mentor of mine who passed away just recently, I could see Bob Proctor, right? Had that same type of thoughts. But I've got something that I realized, a lot of that imagine when and the massive action that you're talking about comes from the masculine energy. And all of us have masculine and feminine energy, all of us. It doesn't matter if you're man or woman, bi, straight, whatever. We all have masculine and feminine energy. One is just output, one is input, okay? And so when you take massive action from the imagine when, that's beautiful, that's your masculine energy. I'm here to help the mom, the woman, the professional woman realize, yes, we can do that. However, can we do it from a space of grace? Can we do it from a space of nowness? Can you realize that you're already perfect right now with the 25 pounds? You are a hot man, Can we look at ourselves as, I am a beautiful woman. I am a beautiful man. I have greatness to offer. Because Bill Lipton, I forgot his first name for a second. Dr. Lipton talks about, if you record, say, I want $1 million. I want a good person. I want a good job. And you record this, right? A year from now, you hear it. What is it telling you? I want, not I have.
Yeah.
I already am. So there's a good book, you guys might have heard about it, the Bible. And there are some real 2 words that are super powerful, that a lot of stuff happened because of the I am. So I am perfect right now. Because I look back at pictures where my body was less than what you see now. And I remember then thinking, if I could only be. And I'm like, dang, girl, you were good then, you know? So if we focus and pause, the power of pause. I am perfect right now. I am greatest creation right now. I am capable of all these calls. I am, and you focus on the now, then you get jacked up with those emotions and you're like, you can't not massively action yourself to where you want.
Yeah.
Hey, we've got 5 minutes to wrap this whole thing up. So give us, if you would, one takeaway. If we had to distill this thing down and say, hey guys, you heard nothing else today, here's what I really want you to take to heart and implement.
Besides the statement where you said I'm a hot guy. I got that.
He's a hot guy. Yeah. And I'll have to listen to that. Thank you for saying, I'll have to listen to that ad infinitum for ever and ever. It does not bring me joy and happiness. I'm just telling.
One good solid tip, Yamile.
The biggest solid tip is believing you already have what you need to create what you want.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You already have what you need to create what you want.
Yeah.
Good all stuff. Is within you.
Good stuff. Yamile, thank you. Thank you very much. This is all. I mean, I joked a little bit about, the stuff, some of the things that you said, and as I was poking at myself, but at the end of the day, resilience, resourcefulness, stopping, pausing, and thinking about what it is that you want, and where you are today, and why do you want that next thing, are important parts of growing. I'm going to share your LinkedIn profile URL on the video. I'll share your website and point more people to discover who you are. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for hanging with us. Yeah, I've got to, I don't know, I'll make up some stories, but just some things, observations. One of the things that I gathered, especially at the end, the power is here all the time. And I think back, was it the Wizard of Oz, when the cowardly lion, he was afraid and he had it in him all the time and he just didn't realize it. Was that it? But
one of the character stories.
Yeah. One of the Tin Man, he didn't have a brain or heart it was a long time ago when I saw the movie and I was probably half lit when I saw it. So who knows, but just kidding. But the idea is that we have the power within us, I guess is what I'm saying. We have that power and it's either buried under so much garbage, so much life, so much what's in front of my nose that I have to attend to get a raise, to get a new job, to have people like me, to lose 25 pounds, to all the things that I'm not. It's right in front of our nose. I guess your thought here is set that stuff aside, pause for a minute and look for the joy in life and look for that and have that hope that you can do it. You are worthy. You can make it happen, and seek out people who can help you get there.
Yeah. And
not be afraid of no, or be afraid to appear to be inept or out of your league or anything like that. We've got a heck of a story to tell, and I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing that, because it's very inspirational for me, and I know for Teddy. I know he's such a glamorous, hot male that he gets that all the time, but a little positive reinforcement never hurts, does it, Teddy?
Yeah. And put me in my space. Hey, Yamile, thanks a lot. I appreciate you being on here. I don't have a story. I mean, I shared my story. It took me two trips to the emergency room for me to realize I was living a life I shouldn't have been living.
Yeah. And
it was business related. And I was trying to aspire to all of this way too quickly in a space I didn't need to be in. And a second trip was the one that it was the words from family after the second trip that convinced me to change. Maybe it would have been different if I would have listened the first time, maybe not. Hey, our special guest next week, This is going to be another cool conversation, something a little bit different. Randy and I are always striving for something a little bit different. We're going to bring Melissa Winstead. Melissa Winstead is going to come on. She's a professional chef, personal professional chef. She's going to come on the show and she's going to help us understand what to do that day and the next day, which would happen to be Thanksgiving Eve and Thanksgiving Day, how to prepare a meal, how to do hors d'oeuvres, how to do all that stuff, and how not to be so wrapped up in the kitchen that you're not enjoying the holidays. Wish I could have got her a week before, but I couldn't do it. But show up next week and I can promise you your Thanksgiving will be way better. Lunch Conversations with Randy and Teddy is sponsored by the Elder Law Firm. We appreciate all their support through 2022. They've been very gracious to help us out. Yamile, you have an absolutely fantastic day.
Thank you.
Randy, see you later on. To all of our special guests, love you all. Thanks for showing up. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. See you now.